Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed.
Hear me?
You are listening to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. My name is Christian Taylor, and thank you for clicking on today's episode. Now, we're going to have some fun in this one because we are going to be talking about a brand new movie that's currently in theaters right now, and it's a movie I've already seen 2 times. And before I get to it, I thought I would just take a minute to tell you all what I've been up to. So I just want to first start by saying thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you are doing well, and hope you're healthy, hope you're living life to the fullest, and hope everything is working out for you. There's been a lot of stuff going on recently. I worked for 2 weeks straight getting all my podcast recordings up on YouTube. I do now have a full functioning YouTube channel called Tales of Music and Film, hosted by Christian Taylor. You can find it on YouTube with all my current episodes all uploaded and ready to go. It took a lot longer than what I was planning, but thankfully it all worked out. All the episodes are up, so I'm very excited about that. And in other news, I just finished filling out paperwork to be a sub-teacher in another district. I've already subbed in this town's district a couple of times now, and it's been going very well. I'm working at a school in a town nearby where I live, and I had to sub for 6th and 7th grade science class yesterday, and it actually went pretty well. I'm enjoying the school so far. The students are great, super great kids, so it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it a lot, and I've been in the process of trying to come up with questions, and because for anyone who doesn't know, I have been instructed to be the host for the Q&A for the premiere of the short film that I helped make, which was A Mother's Sacrifice. I interviewed my friend Catelyn Davis on this platform, who is a dear friend of mine. I recorded an episode about a month ago where her and I talked about our experiences on set making A Mother's Sacrifice, and we had a blast. It's a great recording. If you have not listened to it, I highly recommend that you do so. It was a great interview between her and me. So yeah, we made A Mother's Sacrifice back in late June. The movie is all finished and ready to go, and it's very exciting. The movie's been picked up by 2 different film festivals. One is in Chicago. We actually made it into one of the categories, so that is very, very exciting news. The fact that it's been picked up has got me, super excited. And we're having a premiere for it in my hometown on September 28th at my town's junior high building, because it has an auditorium big enough to screen the movie and to allow a good amount of people inside to witness our project. So Catelyn's going to be going all out for this. There's going to be a ton of decorations and stuff. It's going to be super cool. I'm in the process of getting a suit together. My mom actually helped me find a good suit jacket for it, so that's good. And she told me that she's going to put me in charge of hosting the Q&A after the screening is done. And I'm currently trying to think of questions to ask the cast and crew, because we're all going to be up on a stage in front of everybody, and I'll interview all of them for a while, and then we'll have a portion where the audience members can come up and ask any one of us some questions. So that is very exciting. I just can't believe that I've been handed this very amazing opportunity, because I've daydreamed of doing something like this one day. So to finally get the opportunity to do this for real it's pretty crazy moment in my life. I've been watching some podcasts. I've been watching some panel sessions from like Comic-Cons, trying to get an idea on how to do this. So I'm starting to get a good idea on how to behave myself and how to act as a host for a panel or Q&A. So I think I'm getting it down. So that's all the stuff that I've been doing currently, and I've also been readjusting my topic list and stuff that I want to talk about, and I have a long list of awesome movies that I can't wait to discuss with all of you. I am actually planning on starting a Halloween marathon starting around maybe in late September, where it'll be horror movies for the rest of September all the way through October, just to get in that Halloween spirit, because this part of the year, September and October, are some of my favorite days of the year. I love fall season, I love Halloween, so this is a very good time of the year. So a lot of cool stuff is going on. So that's everything I've been doing currently. Now, what movie am I going to be talking about today? I'm going to be talking about the brand new Alien Romulus that is currently still playing in theaters. I know the ANC Theater in Mattoon, Illinois is still playing it. I've had the honor of getting to see this movie 2 times in theaters, and me and my best friend Jonathan, you guys all know him, he's been on the show a couple of times. Him and I and a few other friends went to go see this movie at the Hillsborough Theater, the Orpheum is what it's called. We've gone there many, many times to see a lot of good movies. It's a great theater. The people who run that theater do a good job of maintaining it and keeping it nice and cool. So, yeah, Alien Romulus, I'm just going to start by saying this movie blew me away. Like, I'm telling you, man, I didn't have any real expectations going into this movie. I didn't know what to expect. And I'm telling you right now, if you love the first 2 films, Alien and Aliens, you will love this movie. This movie is exactly what the franchise has been needing for quite some time. I've actually covered Aliens 1, 2, and 3 on the podcast, and I highly recommend you check them out. Those are great episodes. Now, for any of you who've been listening to the show for a while now, you know that I am a huge fan of this franchise. Alien and Aliens are some of my favorite movies of all time. The first film, Aliens, 45 years old this year, and I'll get to that here in a minute. I played Aliens at my hometown theater for my 16th birthday, and I had some friends come over, and that was a very excellent birthday. That was awesome. Aliens is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that movie just blends horror, action, thriller all in one, and it does a great job of blending all those film genres together. Magnificent, one of the greatest sequels ever made, as far as I'm concerned. And, I've met actors Jeanette Goldstein and Mark Rolston, I think is how you say his name. I met them at my first Chicago Fan Expo Comic-Con. I went there for the first time back in 2021, and I got to meet the both of them, and I got a picture with them. And that was a very, very cool experience. And they were the actors. Jeanette played Vasquez, and Mark played her friend, and you remember they were the 2 characters that had the giant machine guns in the movie. Mark's character gets killed during the sequence when the Colonial Marines are trying to escape the alien hive, and Mark's character gets acid shot all over his face, and he dies. But yeah, it was a very amazing opportunity getting to meet those 2. They are super nice people too. Beautiful human beings, both of them. Super nice. And this is, in my opinion, guys, Alien Romulus is the best installment in this franchise since the Alien Isolation video game. Now, I platinumed Alien Isolation on my PlayStation 4. Alien Isolation is one of my favorite video games of all time. Guys, if you have not played Alien Isolation, go play it. It is magnificent. It captured the feel of the original film so perfectly. And I think this movie took I think Alien Romulus took a lot of inspiration from Isolation. And I'll get to that here in a minute. But Alien Isolation, man, so as far as I'm concerned, in my Alien timeline, if you will, Alien, Aliens, Alien Isolation, and Alien Romulus are the only things that are canon. I don't consider Prometheus and Alien Covenant, I don't consider them canon. Along with Aliens 3 and 4, those films don't exist, in my opinion. But man, guys, this movie's quality was just... I don't even know where to start with this. Like, I remember walking out of the Opium Theater, and my best friend Jonathan, he looked over, he tells me, this movie is literally like a big budget fan project. And that's exactly, it's like a fan film. Like, this film really feels like it was made by people who were huge fans of the original film. And, oh my gosh, man, just, this movie, I wasn't expecting it to be this good, you know, because the franchise has kind of been dead in the water for me for a good while. Prometheus and Alien Covenant just didn't really do it for me. Like, oh my gosh, this movie was such a breath of fresh air. The thing that really got me was just how terrifying and scary this movie was, because I didn't think it was possible. Now, Alien Isolation did a magnificent job of keeping it scary. Like, Isolation, it's a terrifying game. It really is. And I just didn't think it'd be possible to capture that level of, just tension and pure fear. I didn't think it was possible to capture Isolation's tone into a movie, but this team that worked on Alien Romulus found a way to take that terrifying, concept from Isolation and make it into a movie. And they did it so well. Like, this movie is terrifying. It is scary, man. Like, there was a few parts in this where my anxiety was going off the charts. And, and I do have to say, look, the first two movies are magnificent, but they're not really scary, Like, they may have been scary for the time, but, 4 to 5 decades later almost, like, those two films, like, I wouldn't say they're necessarily scary anymore. I mean, Alien, for example, the original, I think the only scene that was, like, genuinely scary was, like, when the chest burster scene happens at the spaceship dinner table, or when Dallas gets grabbed by the xenomorph in the vents. I feel like those are the only two scenes in the film that are still somewhat scary. But comparing those to the stuff we get in today's films, they are a bit dated in the way of scaring the audience. But Alien Romulus found a way to bring that horror, aspect back into the franchise. And there were, like I said, man, like, I'll give you an example, right? So there were a few scenes in this where I couldn't relax. Like, I was fiddling around in my chair. Like, I wanted to start grinding my teeth because of my anxiety has never gotten this bad in a movie, like, ever. And I'll give you an example. So there is a scene in this movie where some of our main characters, the only way, they're trying to rescue a friend who's trapped in one of the hangar bays with the xenomorph creatures. And in order to get to that hangar bay, they have to go through this hallway that is filled with face huggers, the things that latch on to the host's face, and they plant an egg inside of you, and the creature grows inside the host's chest, and then they pop out of your chest, and you die instantly. Our characters had to go through a hallway with a bunch of face huggers, and this film did something really cool where it expands the knowledge, where we have somewhat of a way to combat these creatures. They changed the room temperature, like they matched the room's temperature to their body heat or something like that. Like they changed the temperature, so it kind of like camouflaged our characters a little bit, but they had to make no noise and they couldn't sweat, like they had to keep their nerves under control. So, and what's breathtaking about this scene, the minute that door opens, there's no music. It was dead silent inside the theater that we were in. And you could hear a pin drop in the room. And what's funny is, so me and my friends, we were all sitting in a row. And What's funny is we'd all ate at the Mexican restaurant in town before we went to see the movie. And during this sequence where the tension was at the highest it's ever been, one of my buddies farted and we all we all started giggling and laughing. Like the tension was just broken. Right then and there. I just thought it was so funny. The character goes, don't make any noise. And the minute the scene starts, one of us farts. It's just like, it was just, the timing was just so perfect, Like, that was pretty darn funny, but yeah, that scene, like, I wanted to start biting my hand because of just how intense it was. And there's a few other scenes just like it throughout the movie. Like, that's just scratching the surface. But that's just to give you an idea, like, man, they found a way to make this movie very terrifying. And they knocked it out of the park, man. They got it. And as we continue here, so at the CinemaCon in April of 2019, 20th Century Fox announced their plans to produce future Alien films. So director Fede Alvarez was attached as director in March of 2022, and Spaney joined as the lead later that year. Filming took place from March to July of 2023. Alien Romulus premiered in Los Angeles on August 12, 2024, and was theatrically released in the United States by 20th Century Studios on August 16th. It received positive reviews from critics and has grossed over $315 million worldwide, making it a commercial success. Now that makes me very happy because, guys, I'm telling you right now, I want sequels. This movie is exactly what this franchise needed. Like, this movie was so perfect. I want the same director. I want this team to make more of these. This movie was incredible. I want a trilogy so bad. So Fede Alvarez, he's been directing for a little bit. He's not exactly like a newer director. He kind of is. But he's done a good couple of films over the last decade. So some of his other famous projects was the Evil Dead 2013 remake, which I haven't seen yet. I need to watch that. Don't Breathe, that's another film that my best friend Jonathan keeps telling me that I need to check out. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And The Girl in the Spider's Web. Those are some of his other famous projects that he's done. And what's really cool is, about 3 or 4 months ago, I actually went to the AMC Theater in Mattoon, Illinois, because I saw that they were playing the original Alien in the theater to celebrate 45 years of the film since the film was released. And when I went to go see this, I was the only one in the cinema room that was playing it. And what's cool is, before the movie started, I got to watch a very cool interview where Fede Alvarez interviewed Ridley Scott, who directed the original film. And it was really cool getting to watch, this interview. You can tell that Alvarez is a very huge fan of the original film, and it was really cool getting to hear, some of the things that Ridley Scott did to achieve some of the scenes that are featured in the picture. Like, I learned a couple of cool facts about it. It was a great interview, and I was very happy that I got to go to see the film in theaters just to get to see that, that interview. That was a very cool thing, getting to witness. So as we continue through the notes here, the next thing I'll do is I want to name off the main cast members for this. Now, everybody in this film, they're all brand new actors to me. I have seen none of these people in other pictures, and kind of find out, this is one of the youngest casts that this franchise, I think's ever gotten. All these people are in their mid-late 20s or very early 30s. These people are young, coming up actors, and I think this movie is going to help them get bigger projects because they all knocked it out of the park in this. And everybody who starred in this, I mean this with every word, the actors in this movie were perfect. Everybody who acted in this, their range was incredible. So coming up first on the cast list, we have actress Kaylee Spaney, Isabella Morced, David Johnson, Archie Winnow, Aileen Liu, Spike Verne, and Robert Baroxy. And that is the main cast for this movie. Now, what is the plot for Alien Romulus? So, in 2142, a Weyland-Yutani space probe investigates the wreckage of the USCSS Nostromo, which was destroyed 2 decades prior. The probe collects a large cocoon and departs for a secret research space station. Upon arrival, mass scientists open the cocoon, revealing the xenomorph. Now, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, was the best possible way that they could have opened up this movie. So, we're going to get into some spoilers here. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would pause it and go watch it. But the movie opens up with this Weyland-Yutani team flying through space in their little ship, and they're searching through the wreckage of the Nostromo, which was the ship that Ellen Ripley and her crew were on, that Ripley self-destructs at the end of the movie. And they find the original xenomorph from the first film that, when y'all remember, she blasted it out into space. This Weyland-Yutani team find the original xenomorph, and the creature's now been absorbed and melted into the debris from the Nostromo, making it like this cocoon. And the team brings it back to this research facility, and they open it up, and the xenomorph is trapped inside of it. And that was a very epic way, to start the movie off. Just seeing the debris, and you see a piece of debris float by the screen that says Nostromo. It was so cool, man. Getting to find out, what happened to the original xenomorph, because I gotta be honest with you, there were so many times, right, where I'm watching this movie, and there's, in the back of my mind, I'm always wondering, gee, what do you think ever happened to that xenomorph? You think it's just constantly floating through space till the end of time? Well, this answers that question, that was just such a cool thing to do, to, have a little bit of fan service in there, but just a good amount, not too much, that was the best way they could have started the movie off. I like that. I love that little connection to the original movie. That's very, very good writing. So, months later, after this, at the Colony Jackson Star on LV-410, our main character, Rain Carradine, works and lives with her adoptive brother Andy, who is a malfunctioning android reprogrammed by Rain's late father. After her original work contract is forcibly extended by Weyland-Yutani, Rain's ex-boyfriend Tyler persuades her to join an expedition with his pregnant sister Kay, their cousin Bjorn, who is the father of Kay's baby. It's not outright said, but there's little pieces of evidence that you can piece together to find that out. I wasn't 100% sure. That was one thing I was wondering about is, so one of the main characters on the team that we learn about is Kay. She's a very cool character. I liked her a lot. And you find out that she's pregnant, and then Rain asks her who the father is, and she just says, some jerk, She doesn't outright give Rain a name on who the father is. We can find out later on in the film. There's enough evidence to see that Bourne is the father. And the last team member is Bourne's adoptive sister named Navarro. So this group of friends put a plan together because they all want to leave this colony and go live somewhere else. And there's a planet that Rain wants to go to that's super beautiful, where you see the sunrise every day, but this planet is a long way away. And the rest of them want to go there too, but it's a long trip to get there, and you need sleeper pods, for the trip there, and they don't have it. But Rain's friends tell her that they have located a abandoned space station just floating up in orbit, and they want to go up there and investigate it and see if they can find the cryogenic sleeping chambers, retrieve that station's chambers and bring it back, and then they can sleep in those for the trip to the planet that they want to go to. So they decide to go, and the catch is that Rain's adopted brother Andy, who is again an antidroid, has to come along because he's owned by Weyland-Yutani, and the space station that they are going to is a abandoned Weyland-Yutani facility. They think it's abandoned. They're going to find out pretty quickly it was not, in fact, abandoned. But anyway, Andy has the ability to open up the doors and allow them to gain access inside the facility. And Andy also has the ability to interface with the onboard computer system, which is crucial for the expedition. But Rain is hesitant to take him along until she is convinced, by Tyler and Andy to allow him to assist. They fly their ship, which is called the Holler Corberlin, to the spacecraft, which is revealed to be the Renaissance, a Weyland-Yutani research station divided into parts, Romulus and Remus, a reference to the Roman legend. So we are about to be getting into stuff that happens in this movie. So if you guys have not seen Alien Romulus yet, you have been warned. I am going to be talking about spoilers here in about a minute. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, again, no amount of words that I say can do Alien Romulus any justice. I highly recommend you go see the movie for yourself and then come back and listen to this. It's really good. So we are going to be entering spoiler territory with the story. So again, you have been warned. So here we go. So going back to what I was saying earlier, the franchise was dead in the water for me, and I was not a fan of the Prometheus film or Alien Covenant, and they were supposed to be Alien prequel films, and they were directed by Ridley Scott. Alien 5, which is the movie which is one of the movies that I talked about when I did my episode covering 5 canceled films. Alien 5 was supposed to come out back in 2015, and it was going to erase Aliens 3 and 4. It was going to be directed by Neil Blomkamp, but the movie was canceled because Fox was more in favor of Ridley Scott's prequel films, but the both prequel films they did were hit pretty hard with negativity from the fan base, so Fox, pretty much canceled, that storyline, so it's never going to be wrapped up. So Alien 5 was basically canceled for nothing, which makes the feeling even worse. The prequel films, in my opinion, ruined a lot of things about the lore of the xenomorph creatures and where they came from. The moral of the story, you find out in Alien Covenant that basically an evil anti-droid designed the xenomorph creatures. I remember walking out of the theater after watching Alien Covenant, and I was so disappointed. It's just, there's a lot to go into to why I was very disappointed with the movie, but I cannot believe that Ridley Scott made the decision that, an evil anti-droid designed the xenomorph creatures. I'm like, are you serious? I'm telling you, man, Alien Covenant needs to be a good prime reason onto why not everything needs to be explained. One of the things I liked about the first 2 films was that how they expanded the lore of the creatures, but we never know where they came from or how they were created in the first place. I liked the idea of, it's a crashed alien ship on LV-426. We don't know where it came from, I loved that, that mystery about it. I thought it made the creatures even more terrifying because, again, we have no idea where they came from or how they were even, made a thing. How were they created? Who made them? Where did all those eggs in that lower level of the ship? Where did all those eggs come from? We don't know. That added a sense of a scary factor to it. Mystery. We don't know. I like the idea of not knowing where something came from. There's mystery to it. It makes it cooler to me. Not everything needs to be explained, And Alien Covenant fell victim to that very hard. I think it ruined the lore on a lot of things. And there was just, too much backstory. The characters for me in Prometheus and Alien Covenant were not very that well written. None of them were very, that memorable. And it breaks my heart at the very least. We're never going to get an ending, to that story. And what's even more sad is that Prometheus and Alien Covenant are not very well connected. Both movies have separate groups of people to follow. We didn't really have, like that one character. Well, we kind of did, but we never had like a strong, lead. Not necessarily. Like, both movies have different female leads, and that just made it even more confusing. Like, I don't like it when sequels do that, where they kill off, the main person from the first movie, then that main person gets replaced with someone else. Like, that. I hate it when sequels do that. Like, Pacific Rim did that with their sequel, and I just thought that was a very stupid approach. But, Alien 5 seemed to be what the franchise really needed, to bring back our main girl, Ellen Ripley, for one last adventure and to wrap her story up, and this time do it right. But, the movie was shelved, sadly, in exchange for Scott's prequel films, which, again, were not very well received. I don't think they were. So, the franchise is really dead for a while. I mean, in my opinion, the last good thing this franchise got was the Alien Isolation video game, because it did a magnificent job of capturing the feel of the first film. And on top of that, all the original actors from the original Alien came back to voice themselves for the DLC that you can play, where you play as Ripley on the Nostromo. And Sigourney Weaver, came back to voice Ripley because Ripley plays a part in the story, because in the Alien Isolation story, you're playing as Amanda Ripley, who is Ripley's daughter, who you learn about if you watch the director's cut of Aliens. You find out that Ripley had a daughter who was around 10 years old during the events of the first movie. And so Sigourney Weaver came back to voice herself, for some scenes, because one of the main things about Alien Isolation is that a salvage team recovered the flight recording unit of the Nostromo. So Amanda finds it towards the end of the game, and she finds an additional message that Ripley left behind for her after she was on her rescue ship, after she defeated the Xenomorph. She left a message for Amanda to listen to, and that was incredible. So Alien Isolation is canon, in my opinion, but that was the last good thing that we had in this franchise, and that was 10 years ago. I'm still sad we never got a sequel to Alien Isolation. It's one of the greatest video games I ever played, and I wish we'd gotten a sequel. That would have been cool. And, again, Alien Romulus really did bring this franchise back to life, and I hope we get sequels. Like, when you watch this movie, like, me and Jonathan were both talking about this. This movie does really seem like it's setting up, future installments. And this movie, like I mentioned earlier, is doing extremely well. It is a major success, so I think it's safe to say we're going to be getting more movies. And one of the coolest things I liked about Alien Romulus is that it took elements from other films in the franchise. Like, it took, the design and feel of the original Alien and incorporated it into this one. The scary factor, the long scenes of silence, of not knowing what's going to happen. This film took action, sequences from Aliens. Like, we had a scene where Tyler teaches Rain how to use a machine gun, and it was very reminiscent of the scene from Aliens where Corporal Hicks teaches Ripley how to use the pulse rifle machine gun. That was really cool. And the space station design, it's straight out of Alien Isolation. Like, the hallways, the doors, the way they use the machines to open up the doors to the vents and everything, it's 100% just like the Alien Isolation game. And what's really cool is there's a couple of scenes. There's an Alien Isolation Easter egg where if you look in the background, you can see a save station on the wall in some of the hallways. That was cool. And what I liked about Alien Romulus, it didn't try to erase Prometheus and Covenant. It still keeps those films canon, because the black goo canisters that were introduced in Prometheus and played a role in Covenant was brought back for this in a very interesting way. So I was trying to remind you, hey, those films are still somewhat important. But this film did not take any elements from Alien 3 or Resurrection. And I'm telling you right now, I think I speak for a good amount of the fan base when I say I think that's a good thing that they didn't take anything from those movies specifically. Now, guys, I gotta tell you, the ending, I'm telling you, this film is very scary. And this film introduces a brand new creature never seen before in this franchise. And I'm going to go into some detail, but guys, no amount of words that I say is going to do this creature justice. If you thought the xenomorph creatures were scary, you are in for a very big surprise with this movie. This creature that's introduced, so I'll talk about it for a minute. So, in Alien Romulus, remember how I mentioned Kay, who's pregnant? She gets really injured towards the end of the movie, and Rain tells her to go in the elevator and take the canister with her to go back to the ship and get it ready, while Rain runs back into the lower levels of the ship to rescue her friend Andy, who is the droid. And Kay decides to inject herself with one of the canister. Like, the canister has like these injection things surrounded it. She injects herself with some of the goo, thinking it's going to help heal her, you know. And you think everything's fine, but then towards the end of the film, her baby bump grows instantly within a few minutes, and she gives birth to like this tiny alien egg. It breaks open, and this tiny little like alien-human baby comes out of it, and then it grows into this giant, super tall white creature that it's like human and xenomorph genes mixed together. So it's a hybrid, I believe is the term. And guys, the shot of when Andy turns around and he sees the creature in the hallway just staring at him, like, that, it is the stuff of pure nightmares. Like, this creature you could not think of in your mind no matter how hard you try. This creature, this hybrid, was extremely terrifying. Nightmare fuel times a million. Like, I didn't think it was possible to introduce a brand new scary element into this, but this xenomorph human hybrid was terrifying. And the final battle between Rain and this creature was extremely well done. Now, the best character in this film, obviously, it's Rain. Like, she is the best female lead in this franchise since Ellen and Amanda Ripley. Like, Rain was a different kind of character for this franchise because she was, in my opinion, the weakest character. Now, what I mean by that is, like, she started from the lowest point and then rose up over the course of the film to being a badass action hero. Like, I'll go into more detail here. So, take Ellen Ripley, for example. So, Ellen Ripley was always a strong character the moment she was introduced in the first film. Like, the moment she's introduced, we instantly learn a few things about her. Like, she is very respected by the other Nostromo crew members. She takes no crap from any of them. She follows the rules exactly. She stands up to Captain Dallas when he's making stupid decisions that puts the other crew members in danger. Like, take the scene, right, where Dallas Lambert are carrying one of the crew members back. Kane, I believe his name was. They're bringing him back to the ship after a face hugger has attached to his face. Ripley's telling them, you know the quarantine procedure. I can't let you into the ship. It'll put the rest of the crew members in danger. But Ash allows them back into the ship, breaking the protocol procedure about how to handle something like this. So again, she was following the orders and laws perfectly. She was following them precisely to the point. She refused to open the door, but Ash broke the rule. And Parker, keeps talking about, he wants his wages raised up, and he keeps giving Ripley crap about it, and Ripley takes none of it. She literally tells him to F off, later on in the film, in a joking matter. I mean, he picks on her, but she can throw back. She can throw back some stuff too, like, oh, you're gonna pick on me, well, I'm gonna pick on you as well. Like, she's not some helpless victim. Like, she stands up for herself over and over again throughout the film. So you can tell right away she has authority, she's well respected, and she takes crap from no one. And speaking of authority, that's part of the reason, I believe, why she became the leader later on in the film. Like, after Dallas is taken by the xenomorph creature, Ripley's basically the leader of the survivors for the rest of the movie until she's the last one standing. Now, when you think about it, it's not really a surprise that Ripley was the sole survivor of the Nostromo, because throughout the entire film, she was the only one out of the crew who was following the rules and the laws, because she knows why they're there in the first place. Like, if Dallas and the other crew members had followed the laws, they would never have been put in this situation in the first place. If they had just listened to Ripley, none of this would have happened. She's strategic, she's smart, she comes up with these plans, to help get the creature off the ship and jettison it into space, all these elements, like, she was already a well-respected, flight officer before any of this even happened. And even Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda, in Alien Isolation, she doesn't have the same authority as her mom did, but Amanda still does have authority. Just, she doesn't have, like, she's not like this high-ranking officer like her mom, but she's just like a salvage worker or something. But she stands up for herself, and she's a fighter, and she doesn't take crap from anyone either. She takes right after her mom. Like, even Amanda was a lot like Ellen as well. Now, take Rain now. Like, compare Ellen and Amanda to Rain. Rain has none of this. When we see her, she's living in this really small room. All she has really as a friend is her adoptive brother, Andy, who is a droid, She's a slave, basically, working for Weyland-Yutani. She's working in this, like, coal mine thing where she's helping in mining minerals. She's working all the time, eating, somewhat decent food. Like, she's a slave to Weyland-Yutani. Like, she has no authority whatsoever. I mean, Andy gets damaged, like, not long into the movie, and she couldn't even defend him that well, And she's trying to negotiate with Weyland-Yutani, like, hey, I reached my deadline. I did what you asked me to do. Can I get access off this planet and go somewhere else? And the lady extends her, her work schedule for her to work more. It's like, oh, sorry, your work time's been extended. Like, she tried negotiating with the woman and she failed. Like, Weyland-Yutani got her down. Like, you are a slave for us. Like, you're not going anywhere. And Rain barely has any friends at this point. Like, Andy's all she has left. And she gets pushed around a lot, like, she slowly gains her authority over the course of the film. But she starts off with none. As for, like, Ellen and Amanda, they already had some by the time the movie starts. But in Rain's case, she had none, but she earned it over the 2 hours of the movie. And she had a lot of growth, man. I mean, literally, Rain's growth is pretty darn good. Starts off as a slave for Weyland-Yutani, can't really defend herself that well. Cut to the end of the movie, she's fighting this, human xenomorph creature and jettisons it out into space. She faces her fears. Earlier on, before that, she's mowing down xenomorphs with a machine gun. And she comes up with this excellent plan of turning the gravity off so the xenomorph acid doesn't damage the hull of the space station. Like, she comes up with these brilliant ideas as the film progresses. She becomes more of a fighter. She gets smarter, comes up with better ideas. Like, she slowly grows as a character over the 2 hours. I think her writing was very well done. Like, Rain is that female lead that I have been waiting for, where we get to watch her become a badass action hero. She doesn't have to look at the camera and tell the audience outright, oh, look at me, look how cool I am. We watch her. She shows us why she's strong. We see it through her actions, not her words, you know? Like, this is how a female lead, in my opinion, should be written. Like, she was perfect, man. She's like one of the best female leads I've seen in a movie in a while. Like, she was great. Rain was written extremely well. So, yeah, she had one of the biggest growths out of any other, character in the franchise. Like, great writing for her character. Now, my only real problems with this movie, I only had a couple. And there's a big one that I'll get to here in a minute. But we're going to start off with the small ones first. So, going back to our main small friend group, there's around 6 or 7 of them total, I believe. And my only problem is that, so we find out, right? So remember the character Bourne I told you about, who is the father of Kay's baby? The guy is just a straight up jerk. So you find out pretty quickly, like, Bourne bullies Andy throughout, over halfway through the movie. And you find out that Bourne's mother was killed in a mining accident because an anti-droid locked a Weyland-Yutani droid, sealed up the room, and his mom got trapped inside of it and she died. Now, the reason for this, the droid did this, like, he sacrificed a couple dozen miners to save, like, 20 plus, survivors, That's why the droid did it. So Bourne has a very huge hate for anti-droids. So he bullies Andy over and over again. The guy is kind of mean to Rain a lot as well. He was a very unlikable character. Like, he wasn't a good unlikable character. Like, he doesn't have growth. It's not like Hudson in Aliens where he starts off as a complete jerk, but then towards the end of the film, Hudson becomes a fearless hero who helps Ripley and the others escape. Like, it's nothing like that. Bourne is just an outright jerk for the entire time he was in the movie. And, I just didn't like him that much. And the one thing I don't get is, over halfway through the film, he leaves Tyler, Rain, and Andy behind on the space station, locks them in, and he takes his adoptive sister, Navarro, who, by the way, not long before this, Navarro got a face hugger attached to her face. She got impregnated, but the other members of the team don't know this yet, but they managed to pull it off her face. But she's already been impregnated, and before this, they found a destroyed anti-droid on the station, and Rain took the chip out of it and put it in Andy's head so that he would have higher access to the station. So Andy actually ended up getting the orders that droid had to get the black substance back to Weyland-Yutani by any means necessary. So that's happening. So that droid's chip is slowly taking over Andy's mind, and Andy's turning into who that droid was, if that makes sense. And anyway, Andy, who's now gaining the information that destroyed droid had, is telling the crew members that the facehugger may have implanted something inside of Navarro, and he doesn't think it's a good idea to take her back on board the ship and leave. So Bourne immediately jumps to the conclusion that Andy is going to harm Navarro, so he grabs Navarro, locks, Andy, Tyler, and Rain in a room, and he takes off and runs on board the ship and just leaves them behind. But the chest burster breaks out of Navarro's chest, and the ship ends up, crashing into one of the station's hangar bays. And that leads to Tyler, Rain, and Andy getting to that hallway where all the facehuggers are. They go through there, and they manage to get to the hangar bay where the ship is. But before they get there, Bourne is killed by the xenomorph that popped out of Navarro's chest. He gets killed by acid, and Kay gets kidnapped by the xenomorph, and she gets taken to where the hive is. And they actually end up finding her later on in the film tied to, the wall, because the xenomorphs, they take their human host back to the hive and they stick them to walls to impregnate them to make more chest bursters that will grow into more xenomorph creatures. Like we've seen this happen with the giant hive that the colonial marines find in Aliens. But anyway, I just thought Bourne was written a little too unlikable, if that makes sense. I mean, the guy was just an outright jerk the entire time he was on screen, and he made really dumb decisions that got crew members killed. He got some of the team members killed, in my opinion. The guy was just a jerk. And I didn't really care that much when he died. I just didn't care. And the trailers, that's the one thing that annoyed me. I already knew that Navarro was going to be killed because we had this scene of her using, she uses a device that scans her chest, and it shows that there is something inside of her wanting to break out of her chest. And we see that scene in one of the trailers. So it's like we all knew right away that she was going to die. I thought that was very silly that the trailers put that in there, because you're already going into this film knowing that she's going to kick the bucket. So I thought that was kind of dumb that they revealed that. But anyway, yeah, when she died, I didn't feel that much for her either, because again, I already knew that was going to happen. I mean, Kay was really the only member. Kay and Tyler were the only deaths I was kind of sad about, because you could tell that Rain and Tyler still care for one another, even though they're not dating anymore. And I really did enjoy that scene of Tyler, showing Rain how to use the pulse rifle. That was very, very cool. And his death was really sad too. And Kay's was really sad too. I really enjoyed her character. She was just a sweet girl who was just put in a very, very bad situation. She just wanted her baby to be safe, and she was just a good person thrown into this horrible situation. When she was killed towards the end, when she gave birth to that, creature, it was horrifying, to say the least. My gosh, man, she got just annihilated towards the end of the movie. But that was my only thing. Some of the characters, Bourne was just too unlikable. And the other thing that drove me crazy, was just kind of that Bourne would just outright abandon his friends on the station like that. It just kind of felt a very rushed decision, he jumped the gun very quickly. Oh, I think Annie's gonna hurt her. I'm gonna take Navarro back to the ship and leave Tyler and the others behind. Really? That quickly? You're just gonna leave him behind just like that? It just kind of felt extremely out of nowhere. But I just kind of felt the characters were also a little too dumb sometimes. The scene that drove me crazy was when Kate, she's like, okay, I'm injured. I have no idea what this black stuff is. I'm going to inject this into my body and hope for the best. Why would you do that? The other thing is, too, I knew Kay was going to die, because we had this sweet scene earlier where she's telling Rain how excited Kay is that her baby's going to get to see a sunset when they make it to that planet they want to go to. The minute that scene happened, I remember thinking, yeah, you're definitely going to die. There is not going to be a happy ending for you and your baby. I knew straight away that she was going to be dead. She was going to be killed later on in the film, and I was right. But that decision, it's why would you inject this random black goo into your body? You have no idea what this is. I can't believe she did that, That just felt really dumb. What could possibly go wrong with injecting this mystery substance? It could always be a good thing, right? No, not at all. And then, later on in the film, when Rain is fighting the creature at the end of it, she has to open up these 4 locks that will drop the cargo bay off their ship, and the creature will go down with it, She's getting ready to pull the last lever, but she stops to look around. Wait, where'd the creature go? Me and Jonathan, we're just pull the lever! It doesn't matter where the alien is. Pull the lever! That was a very stupid, thing to do. But again, we needed suspense built up for the final battle. But if she had just pulled that switch right then and there, she could have saved herself so much trouble, But there was just a few moments where I felt the characters were a little too dumb, but it was, again, small little things that didn't ruin the movie for me by any means. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is something I've had in the back of my mind for a while now, and I'm glad that I'm getting the opportunity to discuss this in this recording. So, this movie used CGI to bring back a deceased actor, and that actor was Ian Holm, who played Ash in the original Alien. Ian Holm passed away back in 2020, and we all know him. He also played Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings movies, and he was a great actor. And I also really did enjoy him in Day After Tomorrow, where he played that scientist. He was really good in that movie too. But they used CGI to bring him back for this movie because that destroyed droid that I mentioned earlier is the same model that Ash was, which explains why they used CGI to bring Ian Holm back. And this droid's name is Roke, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he plays a big role in the story, and he ends up being a slight main villain of the story for the most part. And so it wasn't like a quick little, quick cameo or anything. Like, he actually talks. Like, they brought back Ian's voice as well using CGI. And it was a very uncanny experience. Like, I remember watching it in the theater for the first time, and I remember thinking, like, this just doesn't feel right at all, Hollywood needs to stop doing this. Like, it's becoming more and more of a thing as time goes on. Like, this is happening more and more, where actors are brought back using CGI, and it's being treated like it's no big deal, but it is. I don't think that it's right. I've always had a problem with it. Now, there are a few exceptions, but still, there's so many times that this is done where I'm just like, why, guys? You're still trying to make money off this person who's dead? Let them rest in peace. That is just outright horrible. This has really been going on, since 2015. Like, the first time I ever witnessed this happen was back when Fast and Furious 7 came out back in 2015. During the final scene, they had to use CGI to bring back Paul Walker, and his older and younger brothers stood in as stand-ins for him, and they CGI'd his face like onto them, So that was kind of an exception, I guess, because the crew did get the green light from his family members to do this, and they used his brothers, to finish the movie. So I guess in that instance, it's not really a big deal, but there's other examples I can give you where it's like they didn't even have to do it, but they still did. I take Star Wars Rogue One, for example. Like, there's two different times that they used CGI to bring back dead actors. So the first one was Peter Cushing, and it's kind of ironic that I'm talking about this now because Star Wars Rogue One, I'm not kidding you, just a few days ago, it's facing a lawsuit because it used Peter Cushing's likeness, because the actor passed away back in 1994. And if for any of you who don't know, Peter Cushing played Tarkin, the secondary villain of New Hope, who's next to Darth Vader throughout the entire movie. They used CGI to bring Peter Cushing back for Rogue One. They brought his voice back, and again, it wasn't a quick cameo. Like, the guy plays an important role in the story, and seeing the scenes of CGI Peter Cushing, I mean, when this movie came out when I was a teenager, like, a girl that I was dating at the time, her name was Gracie. The two of us went to go see Rogue One in theaters, and it's my favorite, one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It was literally like a Star Wars war movie, like, it was great movie. But I watch the movie now as a young adult. When the Peter Cushing scenes come up, I'm just like, there is something about this that just doesn't feel right. It's because they shouldn't have brought him back. Like, why couldn't you guys do what you did in Revenge of the Sith? Tarkin had a cameo at the end of that. They just found an actor that looked like him, and they just did that. Like, why couldn't you guys just do that again? Why did you have to use CGI to bring him back? That was not necessary. There were other ways to approach that situation. And they also brought back Carrie Fisher, but Carrie Fisher wasn't dead yet. So Carrie Fisher passed away, I think, like a week after the film came out. Like, there's Carrie Fisher as a cameo at the very end where they use CGI to make young Star Wars New Hope Princess Leia, but Carrie wasn't dead yet, so I guess that one gets a pass. Carrie Fisher was brought back using CGI for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker because, she passed away 3 years prior before the film came out. And apparently they used CGI, like what they did was they used deleted scenes from, I believe, the previous 2 films, and they used the deleted scenes and they found a way to put her in the movie still. But I think there were other scenes where they just straight up CGI'd her into the movie. And that didn't sit well with me at all. But I'm assuming the movie did get the okay from her family, to do that. But still, it just doesn't sit right with me. And another film that did this, but this one does get a pass, is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, this film approached this the right way. So, and I've reviewed Ghostbusters Afterlife if you want to check out that episode, but they brought back deceased actor Harold Ramis, who passed away from a rare disease back in 2014. He was 69 years old, and apparently, I just found out about this. He was actually pushing to get a new Ghostbusters film made for years, but he passed away before it could happen. So when they were making Afterlife, they brought Harold Ramis back for the ending battle, and what they did was, they approached this the right way. Like, we see Egon Spengler, who Harold Ramis played. Egon shows up at the beginning of Afterlife, but they used an actor that looked like him, and they used shots of him from a distance where it looks like you're looking at Harold Ramis. Like, they did a good job. And Egon is killed towards the end of the movie. Then he shows up as a ghost to help the rest of the main characters out during the ending battle. And they approached this a very good way. So they first got the okay from the Ramis family to do this. Like, Harold Ramis' daughter was on set, I believe, when they were doing this whole scene. And what they did was they took CGI buildups of Harold Ramis from Ghostbusters 1. They took the model and aged him 30 years to make him look like how he would have looked, 30 years later. But, Harold Ramis got bigger. Like, he gained weight, towards the end of his life. But they kept Egon thin because Egon was thin in the first 2 movies. So it's like they basically made Harold look like, what if he had stayed thin? And what would he have looked like now if he'd kept his hair long too, like he did in the first 2 Ghostbuster films? And they did a great job. Like, the CGI was done very well. They made sure to make him look as close, to Harold Ramis as possible. They got the okay from his family to do it. And they did they did something else that I liked. They didn't have Egon talk. When Ghost Egon shows up, he just nods and smiles at the other Ghostbuster members and the other main characters. Like, he doesn't say anything. That was the right approach, Like, that was the best thing they could have did. So all these factors, like, they handled bringing Harold back the right way, and they had a touching tribute for him at the end of the movie, where the camera pans up to the night sky and we just see text show up on screen that says, "For Harold." So they approached that the right way. Like, they took extra care to make him look as real as possible, and they made a great choice not to have him speak. Like that was the best approach that they could have did. So that was a very healthy way of bringing back a dead actor. But altogether, it's like talking about some of the ones that I had a problem with. I was actually watching a video of a YouTuber just the other night where he was addressing this problem. And I was actually looking through the comment section of that video. And someone left a comment that really stuck out to me. This person said, the idea that even after death, a corporation will still use someone's face and voice is so messed up. And yeah, it is. It's very messed up. The fact that even after death, these companies are still using your voice and face to make money off of you. That is very messed up and wrong. And I think this needs to be addressed. So bringing back Ian Holm was a bad idea. They could have just picked a random male actor and had him play the droid, and it wouldn't have changed anything, in my opinion. It was a very bad way of fan service, and it was just very wrong, in my opinion. But that was the only real big problem I had with this movie. But that's really about it. Overall, Alien Romulus is a fantastic sequel that single-handedly, in my opinion, brought the Alien franchise back to life. So that's going to wrap up my covering of Alien Romulus. This film is still in theaters. You guys need to go check this movie out and give it the support it needs. We need to give this film a lot of support because this is what the franchise needs right now. And I'm really hoping that this film gets sequels. And I hope that we get more products because of this. Maybe thanks to this film, maybe we'll get a second Alien Isolation video game. That'd be very cool. I am very down for that. But Alien Romulus, fantastic movie. I was absolutely blown away with the quality of this movie. To everybody who was involved in making this, you guys did a magnificent job. Breathtaking film. And in my opinion, Alien Romulus is one of the best films of 2024. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Alien Romulus. Thank you for listening to this recording. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting my podcast. It means the world to me. I hope you enjoy what I have to say, and I hope you enjoy the information that I share with you. It means a lot to me. So I hope you're having a great day. And I will see you next time. I have a long list of topics I can't wait to discuss with you. I have a long list of guests coming up who I can't wait to have them appear on the show and talk to them. There is a lot of cool stuff on the way that I can't wait to share with you all. So until next time, my name is Christian Taylor, and you are listening to the Tales of Music and Film.